welcome to BizTech's Enterprise Technology Show. I'm Jeffrey Halley, alongside my co-host, Brian Fernandez. Today with us, we have Damien Wong, Senior Vice President for Asia, Pacific and Japan, APAC, at Tricentis. Tricentis is a global leader in continuous testing and quality engineering. Tricentis has more than 3,000 customers around the world, including some of the largest brands such as McKesson, Allianz, Telstra, Dolby, and Vodafone. So to tell us more, let's welcome to the show, Damien. Welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. Thrilled to be here on the show with you guys.
So to get straight into it, for starters, I think for the best thing for our audience is for you to give us an overview of Tricentis and what your role in the company is.
Sure, Jeff, just to add on to what you've said, I'm the Senior Vice President for the region for Tricentis. I've been in the technology industry for almost 30 years now. Tricentis, as you've mentioned, is the world's leading provider for enterprise continuous testing and quality engineering software products, right? We have a suite that is AI-driven, fully automated and codeless. And as a result of that, allow our enterprise customers to continuously release software at high quality as well as with great performance, right? And based on what the analysts tell us, we are rated consistently as a leader, right? We have been rated as leaders by Gartner, IDC, Forrester, amongst others. So something that we're pretty proud of, and we've grown extremely quickly. So we are a global company headquartered in the United States, but having offices across the world, including in Asia Pacific as well. Yeah. Besides having thousands of enterprise customers, as you've mentioned earlier, we also have hundreds of thousands of certified Tricentis professionals across the world, and we are supported by a large ecosystem of partners such as the consulting firms and systems integrators. So that, in a nutshell, positions us extremely well to help our customers drive quality initiatives with great speed.
Now, Damien, then, given your purview is Asia Pacific region, could you just give us an overview of your footprint in the region, also your focus areas and key markets?
Sure. I mean, we operate all over the Asia Pacific region across countries such as Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asian countries. We operate in India, in Japan, in Korea, and in Greater China. So we do have, leading customers in each of those markets. And what we do in each one of these markets is fairly similar. I think we're helping organizations who are struggling with managing this challenge of having to drive greater innovation, digital innovation, but at the same time also having to ensure that whatever they are delivering in terms of digital footprints is delivered with the highest quality and performance as expected by their users and consumers.
Damien, I'm from enterprise tech as well. And I remember the old days, and this is stretching back, 30 years, of how we used to hate to do software testing. Everyone just hates that. And it was manually done. You've got to do parallel runs and stuff like that. But the whole industry has changed because of companies like Tricentis. Walk us through some of the key advantages that you have over manual testing and how this has really helped customers.
Yeah, well, Brian, I guess your comment really also resonates with me because, I think we belong to a very similar age group. And I started my career developing software programs as well, right? For financial institutions, building them almost from scratch and having to not just build them, but also test them. So I empathize with all those people who lived in that era where this was very much par for the course, right? And I think where we are seeing how Tricentis is helping organizations is really around what I mentioned earlier, right? It's testing is important because if you don't test, then you see significant issues occurring, right? So a lot of the front page news is sometimes made because of disasters that have happened, right? Due to insufficient testing or quality assurance. I recall an article in recent times from the CEO of DBS Bank. He said 4 of the 5 major disruptions that they've encountered in 2023 has arisen because of software related errors, right? And I think that is really a big challenge that most enterprises are having to battle, right? And let's look also at how the world has changed, because 30 years ago, the way that software is developed and the way that changes were made to those software and application systems were very different as compared to what we are seeing today, right? The speed that they were being delivered and the speed at which changes were made, just completely different from what we see today because of some of the newer ways that software is developed. The agile way of development or DevOps approaches, right? Ensures that you are doing software development on an incremental basis and you're doing it iteratively as well. So that's one of the things that happens which did not happen back then. So you're going to need to test continuously. And if you have to do it manually, it's really tough, right? People unfortunately are slower than machines in many cases. They tend to be error prone, right? Human errors are very commonly introduced, or oversight, right? Is commonly introduced, and it's not usually reusable or repeatable. And I think that is really the challenge that many organizations face. So this whole challenge in terms of driving greater digital innovation at speed, but then having to ensure that quality is not compromised, and then the inability to do it by traditional methods of manual testing. So gravitating towards this need for automation, right, which then reduces the time needed to test, increases the reusability and repeatability, and takes away that dependence on people. And remember, the talent market is scarce, right? It's talent is scarce, and it's difficult to recruit and retain talent, right? So if you can reduce that dependency on that variable, it also helps organizations with this challenge that they are facing. So I hope that gives a little bit of context to what we are trying to help enterprises with.
Yeah, well, my background's financial markets, financial services, and I can remember many cases of software updates when we were told to turn our computers off on Friday afternoon as we left the office, turning into update rollbacks come some partway through Monday morning, to the extent we would sometimes call them software degrades rather than software upgrades. So I empathise there. Damien, perhaps if you could you give us some specific use cases or case studies that sort of highlight how businesses have benefited from this transition to automated testing?
No, absolutely. I'm happy to give a few examples. Maybe we could use a couple of real life examples. I recently met up with a customer of ours in Japan, right? It's a company called Itochu. And Itochu is one of the world's leading trading companies, right? They trade in a wide range of products and services, ranging from textiles to minerals, chemicals to finance, and they operate globally, right, in 62 countries across the world. So it's a huge organization. And Itochu was facing this challenge that you've mentioned, right? The need to go through a major ERP transformation initiative. But the IT teams were being asked to ensure that business could still continue as usual without interruption. So, it's just the same as saying that you have to continue to fly the plane even as you upgrade the plane, right? I mean, that's generally what's being asked of IT teams today. So that was a challenge they had. So using Tricentis, obviously, Itochu was able to speed up its digital transformation initiative, and all the while maintaining this much needed business continuity, right? They were able to share with us some of the quantified benefits that they got out of it. They increased the test coverage by over 700%. They saved 38% in execution time, right, for testing, saved 70% in setup time for testing, and overall they reduced their test effort by over 60%. So if you think of that, right, for a company of that size and the transformation initiative of this scale, this is a massive saving and just a huge reduction of risk to the organization, which, obviously we are very, very proud to be associated with. There are other examples in other industries. For example, we do work with companies like City Developments in Singapore. It's a real estate company, Philippine Airlines in the transportation industry, the ANZ Bank, in Australia and across the region, right? So different companies in different industry segments all have similar challenges that they face, and also then have been able to harness significant benefits by working with Tricentis to help them with this common problem, right? How do they drive greater innovation, but at speed with the right level of quality? Yeah.
So Damien, then here's what I'd like to find out from you. With changing expectations, so customers have moved on from manual to automated testing, and then now obviously the bar has gone up several notches. What sort of trends are you seeing in the Asia Pacific region from a software testing in the automated testing space? Is there really notable expectation changes in terms of customers? Because, as we all know in IT and enterprise IT in particular, what was great a year ago is expected today, and then expectations of users change dramatically.
Yeah, 100%. I think this reminds me of the title of a book by a gentleman called Marshall Goldsmith, if I'm not wrong, right? And it was called "What Got You Here Won't Get You There," right? And I think similarly, this is the thing that we have to contend with as IT practitioners or IT custodians. The expectations continue to rise on and on. I mean, this year, some of the things that we are anticipating and we're expecting to see are as follows, right? We continue to see organizations expecting to do more with less, right? And I think this is it's a bit counterintuitive. When I started my career, it was always better, faster, cheaper, choose 2 out of 3, right? But in today's environment, that's no longer the case, right? It's a case of better and faster and cheaper, right? And I think that's the continued expectation that's actually being applied on organizations. So enterprises are having to respond because markets are, obviously there's a lot of uncertainty from the economic standpoint, right? The geopolitical environment is also a little bit uncertain. So, a lot of organizations realize that they have to continue to innovate and compete, but they cannot, do it at a higher spend clip, right? So they've got to balance the two. And that is already something that we're seeing IT teams having to contend with. They're going to have to do more with less. What does that mean, right? It also means that, driving productivity up. How do you help drive productivity up? You have to think of ways such as using automation, right? Leveraging artificial intelligence. All these are mechanisms and tools to help drive productivity. And this is where we see it being applied to the software quality engineering space as well, right? Teams are starting to look a lot at artificial intelligence to augment their software development, right? They are also looking at how it can be applied to not just the development of the programs and applications, they're also looking at how it can be applied to testing. What do you test? How can we automate some of the testing? Can we ensure that we prioritize what we test using artificial intelligence, right? Can we do self-healing of the test assets that we are creating, right? And I think this is going to be very important because that's another trend that we're seeing, right? This expectation that AI is going to play a big role in software development, right? In 2024 and of course beyond. And the third thing we're seeing is this whole continued importance of mobile, because I think you and I know, right? We do almost everything today on our mobile devices, right? Our mobile phones practically run our lives. So most organizations have come to that realization as well. And therefore, this whole focus around mobile application development and quality is becoming really, really critical, right? So I think we also have to remember that most mobile applications are just front ends to back end systems that oftentimes are legacy. I think we spoke about this previously, where we mentioned that, for example, financial institutions, right? You have maybe a mobile banking capability that you are using to access a lot of the services that are run by very traditional, very legacy type applications in the back end. So being able to test across that entire stack of technology in an end-to-end process is going to be important, because you're not just testing one piece of software. You're going to have to test numerous pieces of software and applications that are integrated. And then how do you ensure that making a change in one does not have an adverse impact on any of the others? So an end-to-end approach to mobile testing is going to be important. And that's something that Tricentis also has been putting significant investment to support, right? So just it's three things I mentioned. This focus on doing more with less through use of more automation, right? So codeless test automation is going to be a big feature. As mentioned, AI, right? Leveraging AI capabilities. We have made significant investments. For example, we have a product called Vision AI, which allows you to scan applications like a human would, be able to create test assets automatically with that capability. And then if it changes, it automatically self-heals as well, right? So you don't have to have the onerous task of identifying what's changed, what do I need to update and all that. So it's a productivity tool, taken to an extreme. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the last thing is around end-to-end mobile testing, right? You want to know that if you are accessing an application, I think maybe as you do your travels, Brian, you're based in Malaysia. So if you are, for example, traveling to Europe and you are accessing a service in Malaysia with maybe your service provider here, but you are in Paris, right? You want to know that the quality of that service, the performance of it still is being maintained, right? You're not going to get a very different experience, whether you're in Paris or in New York, right? Or in Tokyo. And I think that's kind of what we are doing, right? We're building capabilities to ensure that there's, the real ability to test, right? Those mobile services that are being rolled out, right? And being able to provide the capabilities to ensure that, as an organization, I'm able to really ensure that this quality and experience that my customers, my users have come to expect will not degrade, right? Whether it is the device they're using, whether it's Apple or an Android device, or whether it is a location that they are in that is causing this degradation. So all those capabilities are being integrated into Tricentis's roadmap, right? And how we are actually continuing to evolve the way that we support the needs of our customers, not just for now, but then, of course, with the evolving and increasing sets of demands that they have.
Now, Damien, then, given these three key areas, if I'm a CIO and I'm sitting in the Philippines, I work for a large conglomerate, and I have, very importantly, and this is where it's so important, I have all legacy systems at some of my financial solutions companies in the group. I've got manufacturing, I've got property development in my portfolio. Why should I pick Tricentis to help me as opposed to some of the other vendors out there? What is your secret sauce?
Well, that's a great question, right? It's also a question that I think for me, I think is quite clear in terms of what I think, right? We, number one, right? We are the market leaders in this space, right? So don't just hear what I say, right? If you talk to the industry analysts, they will tell you the same thing as well, right? They have evaluated different players in the market, and they have rated us as a leader. So you can sleep with peace of mind if you work with us, obviously, given that we are independently verified as or validated as a leader in this space. The second thing is that we have customers in all the various countries that we operate in the Asia Pacific region, including the Philippines, right? So as I mentioned earlier, Philippine Airlines is a very great reference customer of ours. We're thrilled to work with them, right? And they're using technology to make an impact to their business in a very significant way, right? So we have I would say thousands of customers that can attest to how we have helped them along their journey, right? And I think the last thing that I would say is that you talked about conglomerates, right? I think we have capabilities that are designed to address those challenges that we've mentioned, regardless of the industry that they operate in, but with also the benefit that we do have customers in all the industries that you've mentioned, whether it is real estate, whether it is financial services, whether it is transportation, and so on. So I think, all those things are important. And the last thing I would say is that we don't operate alone, right? No person is an island. We work with an ecosystem of practitioners as well as, business partners, right? Whether they are consulting firms or systems integrators, who can take some of the technology or the portfolio of technologies that we have and be able to translate that into an actual solution to some of those problems, right? So, we are, I would say, clear that no person or no organization can exist on their own. And that's why we have developed a very strong approach in terms of developing a partner ecosystem that can jointly work with us to deliver these capabilities to our customers in the geography they want, in the way that they want, even in the language that they want, right? In some of the countries that are non-English speaking. So I hope that kind of explains the key value proposition that Tricentis brings and why, someone in the region would want to have a chat with us and see how they can work with us.
Wonderful. Damien, have you got any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
Well, I've shared a lot already, Jeff and Brian, right? And I think the main thing here is to share with your, your audience that generally that the challenges that they might be facing today, right, are not isolated, and that, we have not just a suite of software that can assist them if they are facing challenges around having to balance between driving innovation at speed and ensuring quality and performance of those applications that they are rolling out. So, the call here to your audience is that if they are facing those challenges, we would definitely encourage them to have a chat with us. We'll be happy to see how we could extend a helping hand and help them along this journey of what we term as driving quality at the speed of innovation. Yeah.
Wonderful. Damien, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us today.
Thank you, Jeff.
We've been speaking to Damien Wong, the Senior Vice President for Asia Pacific and Japan at Tricentis. I'm Jeffrey Halley.
And I'm Brian Fernandez.
And you've been watching and listening to BizTech's Enterprise Technology Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks so much for tuning in.